think you know a lot, but there's sometimes you need to make sure that you are doing the right thing, number one, and you get more. Just like somebody says that billionaires, they don't say they're billionaires and they just sit down there. They want to be more than what they have. So today is just for us to get more knowledge in the area of real estate in Nigeria and real estate in United Kingdom. So we're here today, and I want to believe many of us have one property, two properties. There's a way to get more, and I know the experts within us will enlighten us. And some want to also invest where we all came from, and but we don't know how it works, or we're very skeptical because we all know that there's so many things going on over there. But we have experts that can actually guide us and also let us know the benefits that are going on at the moment. So without taking too much of our time, we're 23 minutes over. So I will just quickly introduce Mr. Adejare Ademola. Just a quick brief. I've known him on the internet for the past 3 years. I've not spoken to him, but 2 years ago, I started chatting with him, and to the glory of the Lord, I bought few properties with him in Nigeria. In Nigeria, so it's really, I mean, he's very, very enthusiasm about properties and people not being scammed because it's very important. So he's very, very enthusiastic. I mean, I watch majority of his YouTube video. He's very passionate about what he does, and I'm very, very happy with him. I've spoken to him many times. We talk virtually every week, or at least 2 or 3 times in a month. So, and I give God all the praise for his life. So I'll just quickly introduce Mr. Adejare Ademola. Is he online now? We can't see his face. Oh. Okay. Mr. Jari, can you hear us? We can hear his voice.
Uh,
Okay, you can hear us now. Okay, good. Thank you so much.
Good
Okay.
morning, sir.
I've introduced, I'm not sure if you had any introduction I've mentioned. So I've introduced you briefly. So please, over to you, and God bless you, sir. So, like I mentioned, I know we've taken a bit of your time. If you can do 20 to 25 minutes, and we have 10 minutes for a question in case people want to ask you some questions. I know there'll be a lot of questions, especially when it comes to Nigerian stuffs. So let's give them more time to ask as much as they can. So, but I'm giving you 20 to 30 minutes. I know I've shortened your time again. Sorry about that, but I just want to make sure that I mean, other people are here as well. I don't want to take their time, their own 1 hour time. So sorry, I've taken your own 25 minutes. So yeah, okay. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, sir. So I want to start by saying I appreciate this privilege. It's a privilege I don't take for granted. Thank you very much, sir, Pastor Shofora. Thank you for the support. Thank you for these wonderful opportunities. I obviously did not take these for granted. So I'm going to quickly talk about Lagos a as the best real estate investment destinations. So I have some slides here just to explain some of the things I'll be saying, and I'll also be explaining some of the things we've done. The first thing I would rather talk about basically is why it is very important to invest back home. A lot of Nigerians basically are not, well furnished with some of this information. A lot of people have written off the country because of challenges, and I sincerely understand why some people over there, people in the UK, in the US, in Canada, why they have to be skeptical. I totally understand. But one major thing that I will be talking extensively on is like the Lagos State real estate market is a gold mine. And I don't know if I have your permission, sir. I have a well-detailed YouTube channel where where I have spoken extensively on everything you need to know, right from property documentation, right from due diligence, right from legal documentation. So the first thing I'll be talking basically is the safety of your investment. A lot of people have been very, very concerned about how to do it right here in Lagos, Nigeria. And I understand the reason why people are skeptical. For instance, I have three legal officers I work with. I have three lawyers in my team. The first one works directly with me. We also have some that also help us do our property due diligence. And the reason why I will be talking about safety basically is that if an investment is not properly checked, obviously it can result to a lot of problems. And we are we are very, very familiar with some of these problems, and we have done everything possible to ensure that your investment are safe. So I have three lawyers, I have a group of registered surveyors, and of course I have some people. So for every real estate investment that I have been, introducing to Pastor Shofowora, he will attest to the fact that if I tell you this is the document, I'm not just saying it based on the fact that this is what I'm being told. It's due to the fact that the document has gone through three different processes of due diligence, from background check to documentation to approvals and the likes. And to the glory of God, I would say that it has been an awesome experience working with him. And I can tell you basically that if it has to do with the safety of your investment, we have adequately taken care of that. And one of the things we've been able to do over time basically is also to get ourselves, we familiarize ourselves with some top government officials. Yes, I know I should not be saying this online, but I will, for you to know. So we are not just making recommendations, we are making recommendations based on the first class information. Now, when they started the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road, some of our informants, some of our people in the Lagos State Ministry of Works and Housing, some of our top informants, because we work hand in hand with top government officials. So they have been able to notify us that, okay, this construction of this coastal road is going to come with a lot of severe consequences. More importantly, those who don't have the proper documentation. So with that kind of information, when we get to talk to our peoples in diaspora, we tell them, okay, this is the information we have, this is what is going to happen, this is what we're going to happen. So we've been able, okay, to guide investors on where they should go and where they should not go. Now, why should you invest in Nigeria? So the first thing I will be doing basically is that I'm going to share a slide very quickly, and I'm going to be giving instances of some expatriates, majorly the Chinese and the Indians. And the reason why I will be giving instances basically is that yes, I will admit that Nigerian as a nation is facing different challenges. And of course, we also need to understand basically that Nigeria presently right now is undergoing some level of developmental phase. So these challenges basically are things that are part and parcel of what is going on. But do you know that regardless of all these challenges, some people have refused to leave the country, and there are several of them, but I will be making instances with just two of these nationalities. There's a neighborhood in the Abidjan axis. For some of our people who may be familiar with Abidjan axis, they call this place Choice Garden, and there've been times that I've worked with some investors. Okay, I manage some investors' property also in that Choice Garden, and for 3 years that I've been going to this particular Choice Garden in Abidjan GRA, which is along the also in the Lekki Epe corridor. I found out that the Chinese have a community in Abidjan GRA, and I found out that the Indians too. And the reason why most of these guys, I've had interaction with them, and I was like, despite the fact that Nigeria is undergoing different kind of challenges, why haven't you guys gone back to your country? At least there is some level of stability. And what one of them told me was very, very shocking. He said, basically, is that I cannot leave gold that I have access to and go to a place where I have to start all over. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say basically is that when it comes to real estate in Lagos, I'm very, very much familiar about Lagos. You can't miss it. If you are working with the right source, you can't miss it. Regardless of some of the things that are happening, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, I said that Nigeria basically right now, all nations of the world have their own challenges. And most of them, they are undergoing, a lot of radical shifts. But when it comes to investing in Nigeria, in Lagos, you can't miss it. Now, I'll be talking about why the Europeans are investing in Nigeria. And I'm just going to quickly, please pardon my presentation. It may be a little bit fast. So I'm going to start with talking about the hyper growth corridors. Now, one of the areas that I have focused more essentially has been the Ibeju-Lekki, the Ajah, the Lekki, and the Lagos mainland. And the reason why I have focused on this area basically is that for some time, I've been studying the pattern of property appreciation in this axis. So I'm going to start with the Ibeju-Lekki corridor. I'm also going to go to the Ajah Sango-Tedo corridor, and I'm also going to be talking about the Lagos mainland. Of course, I graduated from the University of Lagos by the Fletcher Group. I own a master degree, so I stayed majority of my time in the Yaba, Surulere, and Ikeja axis. Now, Lagos as a nation, as a state, is presently experiencing population growth, and the population that we have in Lagos basically, okay, the population that we have in Lagos basically is more than the available rental properties. And those statistics have shown basically that Lagos have over 20 million residents. But we know that that statistic is just more or less like a tentative one, because there are tendency that the population may even be more than that. I was talking with a medical doctor friend of mine, and he gave me a record that on a monthly basis, they welcome over 1,000 births across the major local government area. So that means there is population growth. Now, because of the fact that the government have been unable to control this population, there is demand. And this demand is one of the reasons why we're having hyper growth in that area. And that is why the value of properties have tripled from 2020, immediately after COVID, till now. I can categorically tell you that we have experienced 300% appreciation on just landed properties. Like there was a particular time, like some of these properties along the Lekki-Epe Expressway. Let me just quickly explain what is in that Lekki-Epe Expressway. Now, when you look at the Lekki-Epe Expressway, one of the things you will discover is that most of those lands presently don't have major infrastructural development. But because of the fact that there is no major infrastructural development, there is still demand for landed property. Like, how can I explain a situation whereby I helped a diasporan to secure a plot at Tiwa Garden? As at that time, Tiwa Garden was selling around 1925 million. As I'm talking to you right now, that same property will be selling for 48 million as from next week. So the demand for property in Lagos has made it extremely profitable for real estate investment. So basically, and this is what the Chinese have seen. This is what the Indians have seen. Now, in one of our discovery, because I used to do a lot of research, I used to do a lot of due diligence just to know, and I found out that 35% of the lands in the Ibeju-Lekki axis are mostly controlled by the Chinese. If you should look at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, the larger percentage of the Lekki Free Trade Zone is being controlled by the Chinese. When you look at the Lekki Deep Sea Port, it's also being controlled by the Chinese. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that because of the activities of these foreign expatriates, there is demand for this. So I'm also going to be sharing an explanation. A two-bedroom terrace sold in 2022 around 45, 50 million. That was around 2022. And as I can tell you right now, if you want to buy that same two-bedroom terrace in the Ajah corridor presently right now, you will have over 94 million. That is 100% return in 3 years. And this is what the Lagos real estate investment gives you. And so for people who have been, now there's a forecast. Analysts have actually predicted that there's going to be between 5 to 15% increase in the value of property by 2025, 2026. Now, there's a projection, sir, if you are listening to me, there's a projection that by 2030, so this projection, basically, these are some of the indices that we have been able to look at, and these are some of the important informations that we have been able to gather. So there's a projection by 2030, some set of people might not be able to afford rental properties because with the urbanization, presently right now, the coastal road is almost like it has covered the major part of Lagos. Now, there's been a lot of controversies concerning the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. I have a video where I talked about this. So please, if you're on this live session, if you can just check me out on YouTube. It is King Scott TV on YouTube. I have tons and tons of information concerning that coastal road. So I won't be able to go into details because of the time I have. But you see, one thing I can assure you basically is that before the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ends, I can assure you that the aim of that coastal road is to cover some important distance from the VI, the Victoria Island, and the coastal road will certainly get to the Ibeju-Lekki corridor. And as I can tell you, there have been some tremendous work that is going on. So in the place of infrastructure in Lagos is going on at a very speedy rate. There's also going to be a train network that will be coming from Marina, and the train is going to cover from Marina down to Lekki, down to Ajah, down to Ibeju-Lekki, all the way to Epe. So there's a lot of infrastructural development, and this is what is affecting demand. As I'm talking to you right now, where I'm presently residing, it's a two-bedroom apartment in the Beechwood axis. I stay in the Ibeju-Lekki corridor, the Beechwood axis. And when I first moved into that apartment, my rent was 1 million naira. As at last 2 years, as I'm talking to you right now, my landlord has given me a notification that is going to charge me 1.8 million. And I don't have a choice than to pay. So there is a massive infrastructural development in Lagos. And this is why it is very important for our people in the diaspora not to undermine owning properties. There was this, I also be giving another forecast in the Ajah corridor. So there is this, a pastor that was referred to me. The man is Dr. Akerele. He's a medical doctor in Canada. As at last year, I helped him to secure a 3-bedroom terrace in the Abraham Adesanya corridor as at last year. And it was on a payment plan anyway, but he was able to cover the payment within 6 months. And that 3-bedroom terrace, as at the time he bought, sold for 58 million. Presently, that same 3-bedroom terrace in that axis is over 100 million. Now, one thing I want our diasporan people to know basically is that for now, when it comes to pricing, there is no regulation. And a lot of people have been talking about how can a property just increase from this price to this price. Now, a lot of factors are responsible for it. But the most important of all, basically, is that I want us to understand that it is in Lagos you will put your property, and you can be rest assured that it's going to give you massive return in investment. So I'm going to be talking about why Lagos appeals to European investors. And if the Chinese, if the Indians are investing in Lagos, why have they decided to pitch their investment in Lagos? Number one is the superior returns versus the high cost. Now, there's been a case of 8 to 20% appreciation rate around the prime zone. Now, when we talk about investing in Lagos, it is not every location that can guarantee all this return that I'm explaining. And there are some areas that are called prime zones. There are areas that if you put your investment, you can be rest assured that that investment is going to pay you forever. And this is why it is very important that if you are looking at Lagos, there are some areas you should not ignore. What are those areas? The first areas is the Abraham Adesanya axis, the Abijo axis, the Lekki axis, and the Lagos mainland. Now, a lot of people have undermined the Lagos mainland, and one of the major advantage that the Lagos mainland has basically is that the present real estate developers on the Lagos mainland now are not building for yearly rent anymore. So I'm going to be saying this. Now, if you are buying properties on the Lagos mainland, the larger percentage of real estate developers in the Ikeja axis, in the Maryland axis, in the Surulere axis, are around the Yaba axis, they are all building for shortlets. And the way it is being structured, basically, is that some of these real estate developers have an effective management system that helps investors. Wherever you are across the world, they will help you manage your shortlet, handle bookings, to take care of the necessary maintenance, repairs, and a lot of people earn monthly. I have some couple of real estate investors who are earning monthly. And I have also discovered recently, in the last 30 December that happened in the, around that axis, I can tell you categorically that larger percent of the expatriates, the people that came to Lagos for the festive period, they preferred the shortlet apartment, and I will explain why. Now, a shortlet apartment has a lot of advantages over the regular hotel bookings. Now, a lot of people have had a lot of concerns about that, but shortlet offers that freedom. You have access to your kitchen, you have access to your lounge, you have access to gym. And though there are some hotels that offers that, but of course, that when hotels offer that, they offer this at an extra cost. But the shortlet offers this at a reduced cost. It was so intense that last year that all the shortlets that we have as at that time was totally booked, to the point that we started making recommendations, or we started making bookings. We started requesting for bookings even in the Bejuleki corridor. So it is very, very intense for people to understand that this. So another reason why a lot of Europeans have turned their attention to Lagos is that the infrastructure catalyzes value projects. Like, for instance, the Lekki Epe Expressway has been fully constructed and is optional. The Fourth Mainland Bridge is on the pipeline. As I'm talking to you right now, the Fourth Mainland Bridge is on the pipeline. The Deep Sea Port is active. So we also have other bridges like the Ikoyi Lekki Link Bridge. And so all these infrastructures are accelerating the value appreciation of properties in Lagos. And this is why it is very, very important to make Lagos your choice real estate investment destination. So whether you are investing on the island, whether you're investing on the mainland, or whether you are investing. So I'll just quickly in the next, because I'm also mindful of the time. So I'll just quickly run through the kind of investments that you can look at. Now, like I said at the commencement of this presentation, I am fully aware of the fact that investing in Lagos comes with a lot of challenges. So that is why, as a real estate consultant in the Lagos, I have the right team with me. I have 3 lawyers, one in Alausa, one presently working with me, and the one that handles our documentation. I also have 2 registered surveyors, and we have informants in the Lagos State Ministry, people who tell us this is what infrastructure that is coming to this place, this is the required setback, this is what should be done, these are areas to avoid. So I have a YouTube channel, which is the King's Court TV, the King's then Court, Court, on YouTube. You can check it out, and you see that I have a detailed explanation on some of these things, so that investors will be aware of some of these projects and they will not be making investment mistakes. So what are the areas you can look out to if you decide to start your investment journey in Lagos? The first area is in the area of cash flow. Now, when we talk about cash flow is of different investment goal. Basically, you can structure investment in rental properties. Like I said, when you look at investing in Lagos, location is of utmost importance. Now, you can look at rental properties. Now, the mistake that a lot of diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora are making basically is that they are looking at where they want to stay. Yes, if you have a place you want to stay, basically it's a good place to invest. But basically, I would always recommend that you put your investment where there is demand. Like when we talk about cash flow, you can look at the Ikeja axis. The Ikeja axis right now, shortlet apartment is competing very, very high with some hotels. And that's why some hotels are beginning to level up their expectation and, of course, level up their performances as well. So you can look at cash, you can look at shortlets. You can, so where should you look at? Ikeja is of a prime location. You can look at the Maryland axis, prime location. You can look at Surulere. Now, my brother, who is in the US, he visited Nigeria because he has a farm in Epe. So when he came to Nigeria, that was last year, September, he lodged in a shortlet in Surulere along that Adeni Ogunsonya, that axis of Surulere. And for 1 week that he lodged in Surulere, he spent 180,000, and it was just 1 bedroom. So shortlet basically right now is the thing. So you can look at Surulere, you can look at Ikeja, you can look at Maryland, and you can look at Yaba for cash flow, basically, because right now the shortlet market in that axis is doing well. Then you can also look at the places of Lekki Phase 1. The only problem that I have with Lekki Phase 1 basically right now is that 2-bedroom apartment right now is overpriced. Very, very overpriced. It doesn't make sense for me, I don't know, it might be your own personal opinion, for me to put 230 million to buy 2-bedroom apartment, whereby I can split that 230 million and get rental properties in some Abraham Adesanya and Ajah. So you can look at Abraham Adesanya, you can look at Ajah, and I think the maximum place you should pitch your attention to, as long as rental property is concerned, if you are investing on the island, for now, do not exceed the Abijo GRA. Now, the reason why I'm saying this basically is due to the fact that we are presently in rainy season, so there are some part of the Ibeju-Lekki that is experiencing constant flooding. So any rental properties that you may be looking at investing, so if you can afford to do Lekki Phase 1, trust me, Lekki Phase 1 is a fantastic investment, location. But to me, I feel it is overpriced. But so there are other alternatives. You can look at the Chevron axis. You can look at the Abraham Adesanya axis. You can look at the Sango-Tedo axis. But if it is rentals, any axis that exceed Abijo GRA is not a good destination for rent as at now. Then if you're not looking forward to, okay, fine, I want to invest in places where we have infrastructure, then basically the Lekki-Epe axis. More importantly, where we have the proposed international airport. And if you are looking at that axis as well, any property that is less than a government allocation, like when we talk about titles, we have C of O. Most people are familiar with C of O's. We have governor's consent. We have government allocation. Any property that does not carry these three titles in that Lekki, the proposed Lekki International Airport, is definitely not a good investment. So that is what I'll be saying now. I don't know if we have questions, so I don't want to be talking much. So I'm handing over right now to the host because I'm very, very mindful of time for question. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Can you see me? Is it okay?
Yes, I can see you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for everything you've mentioned. To be honest, like I mentioned earlier, I've been watching your video for the past 3 years, and
Thank you, sir.
you never fail us. And it's not only me, my wife and I. We sit down as if we just put some snacks and we start watching what you're saying for, I think, 15 to 20 minutes most of the time. So we
Yes,
watch
sir.
you all the time. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any question? And if you have any question, please, you have to comment so that he can see you. Is he okay? Any question? No question. You must have a question. But Yinka. No, not you. It's your. No, come here, please. Oh, okay. Okay, come here for the time. Yeah. Okay. He said you can stay where you are.
How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and it's been quite helpful.
Thank you, sir.
I was in Lagos a couple of months ago, and
Yes, saw him.
I saw. Yes,
You remember him?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do.
yes, he's been in touch, so we've been chatting on WhatsApp. Now, I think the problem, I mean, you touched on that actually, is the fact that the properties in Lagos have been overpriced because of lack of regulation. And that is something that is actually scaring people away from, wanting to buy properties. You look at a property and they'll be telling you 300 million. You say, okay, where do I even get that kind of money from? And even if I'm going to buy this property, how long am I going to be able to hold on to this property to recover my money back? And when you look at the property, you think, is it really worth 300 million? But because it's in Lagos, it's in prime location. And I think that's one of the problems. That's why people are running away from putting so much money on property. So, and then also the fear that people will be scammed, especially with developments like the one you usually share with us, having to, wait for about 18 months, 12 months, but for those short legs to be completed before you get your keys to be able to start earning money on them. So those are the things, because I had a family friend who just had a very terrible experience, exactly the same thing that you're doing. She retired, went to Canada. She was paying money on a monthly basis, to come back and just pick up her key and then hand it over to someone to manage for her. When she got to Nigeria, there was no property. And everything she worked for all her life. So they now, the development company now took her somewhere else. It happens to be some of those old local government, estates. They gave her that house. The house was dilapidated, not just to compensate her. They took her to another one that they want to give her another property, still under construction. So such experience would put people off. So those are the things, those are the concern that people, have in being able to invest in Nigeria. Like I said, I've been to Nigeria. I was at Arepo. When I left Nigeria 20 years ago, someone asked me, come and buy land at Arepo for 700,000. I said, me, Arepo. What do I want to go and do at Arepo? When I went back in May, land in Arepo is now 70 million. A plot of land. So, and I was like, oh my God, maybe I should have bought them. So that's the thing. So if you can educate us in terms of, going through the right channel, ensuring that you have people that you can trust, and then, this issue with overpriced and unregulated market is also a concern. Thank you.
Before you answer the question, so I think we just try to put all the questions together and you can answer them together. Just one question from me is in regards to, I know you will be mentioning Lagos and Lagos and Lagos. We didn't mention somewhere like Ibadan or Abeokuta. Yeah. So we can just kind of enlighten us in that area as well, because just like you mentioned, Lagos to Calabar, it went through Abeokuta, if I'm right. I know Ogun State. I don't know if it's Abeokuta, but I know you went through Ogun State. So there's a lot of benefits in that up to Calabar anyway. So we can just educate us a little bit on that. Does anybody have any question that we can put it together? So you come over, please. Oh, you have? Okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning,
sorry,
sir.
I came late, but I think one of the things you do is... Okay, yeah. So my question is, for the developers in Nigeria, from my experience, one of my properties, even though I worked with the courts and gave all the necessary payments for the best material and best quality, at the end of the day, 2 years after, I had to start fixing. I had to start repairing because in Nigeria, there are fake and there are real materials. So how do you overcome that challenge for those in diaspora who are going to put their hard-earned money into what you are building? It looks good outside, but within 6 months, everything starts crumbling, everything starts coming down. How do you address that issue? Because that's a major issue everybody here needs to understand about what happens there. What you see is not what you get.
Certainly, sir.
Does anybody have any more questions that we can address it together? Okay. Pastor.
Okay, good morning, King's Court. Okay, where am I facing? All right, yeah, thank you. Just a quick one. I'm thinking of, okay, what of those estates that you invest and they tell you about, okay, buy the land, you do buy them, they have good title, maybe C4 or whatever, one of those three you mentioned. And yes, no development, no infrastructure. Would you still advise that one continue to invest in such property. Thank you.
Okay.
Making 4 questions. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. But okay, done. Pastor Dakbok, very quickly. So, Mr. Adejare, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to answer every single question.
No problem, sir.
Okay.
Please, thank you. I just want to ask, because you focus on the Lekki Haja, I think there's still another area.
Bejuleki?
Bejuleki, maybe I think Festac area. I think that's
Okay.
because I know that in that very area as well, I think plot of land, maybe by the time I got my property there, maybe I think just ₦1 million then. And now they sell a plot of land now. When I got the land about 7 or 8 years ago, now they sell it nothing less than 120 million. And which I believe that is a good. And another thing I think of recent, I hear about, I can't remember the location that they are doing, maybe developers are doing, I can't remember the statement that they will build on a plot of land, like outlet of like 3. Out of that 3, then they will give you 1 out of it. And each one they sell it like for 400 million naira. I think is also one of the things that people are doing. And even people invite developer, okay, come and buy it. You can build like 3 chalets, like 2-bedroom chalet on that plot of land. Out of it, they will give you the landowner 1. They sell the 2 for 400 million naira. I don't. Maybe
Yes,
if you can enlighten us on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just 1 minute, please. Yeah. You? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know much about Lagos. I am not very used to Lagos. I only go there visiting sometimes before I came here. So I don't know much about Lagos, but I see things online and in the social media where people complain about having the right papers for properties, and few years down the line, the government come and demolish those places and they become helpless. Their papers, everything is authentic, but then the government just feels the policy has changed and then they come and demolish those places. Yes, they may pay them a few compensation, but I believe it's not going to measure up with the with the current expectation or what they would have got if they decide to sell themselves. So I don't know if there is anything, because you said you know somebody within the government structure that gives you all this idea of what could happen in the future. But Nigerian political landscape is not something you can definitely beat your chest and be like, you can be very sure. APC has been leading Lagos for quite some time now, but in the last election, it was another party that won, which was LP. So what then happens if APC leaves government and somebody else comes and feels add-on by from what APC right now is doing and decides that where used to be authentic or where people used to have governments backing to have properties, this person then comes and decides he wants to do something different. So that's the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm giving you 5 minutes. I don't know how you're going to answer all those questions, but 5 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Okay,
Over
sir.
to you.
So I'm going to start with the last question. I understand very well that a lot of people are being skeptical when it comes to investing in Lagos. And the area of government policies, I would also say that government policies to an extent have affected a lot of things. But one thing I want real estate investor to understand, one thing I want you people to understand basically is that if you're buying properties, for every location in Lagos, in Abeokuta, in Ibadan and everything, the real estate investment has gone beyond looking at a video online and subscribing to it. I think that is a lot of mistakes that a lot of real estate investors have made in time past. So I'm going to give a case of the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road as a clear instance. Now, what happened basically is that some structures were demolished and some people were affected. Now, I'm not saying this because I want to defend the government, but I would say this because I need you to understand that for every state, there is a master plan. There is. Now, where most of the problem comes from is due to the fact that a lot of people do some manipulations. There are some mistakes that can be avoided, but based on the fact that people who are buying real estate don't dig further. Like, for instance, I'm going to give a clear instance. Before we give property recommendations, there are 3 important checks we do on that property. Before we say, okay, this investment is good, you can be part of it, there are 3 important things. The first check we do is the title check. The second check we do is what we call the litigation check. The third check we do is what we call the debt check. Now, I'm going to quickly explain this. Now, if you are investing in properties, not just in Lagos alone, in any part of the country, there is a master plan. Now, the master plan situates where there will be a future construction of, like this Lagos Calabar Coastal Road now, that has affected a lot of investors, that have affected a lot of properties, has been on the plan since 2008. So the first thing, I think some of the mistakes that most investors did in that axis basically was due to the fact that many of them did not properly consult the plan. Now, when it comes to road infrastructure, some things are subject to change. Like, for instance, they can say, all we needed for this road is maybe 50 meters, 20 meters, on 30 meters. In a situation whereby government is saying there is a road, if government say, okay, all that is needed for the normal setback for that road is 50, let's say it is 50 meters. What we have advised real estate investors, more importantly, those who are buying, basically, is that if government says 50, please add additional 50, so that if plans change, it will not affect a lot of people. It will not affect your investment. So that is number one. Now, concerning APC has been in power, truthfully, yes, they have. They have been in power for a very long time. And a lot of people are asking, what happens to investors' properties when they leave power? Now, one thing I want to say basically is that if your real estate investment is within the master plan, it doesn't matter who comes to power. In as much as fact that a certificate of occupancy has been given, you have all your approvals and every other thing, it becomes extremely difficult for government to say their plan is no longer sustainable. And that is why it is always important that if you are investing in Lagos, please ensure that your investment is within their plan. If they are saying this place, so what is allowed is residential properties, do not go there and put a commercial property. If they say this is the limit of the road, this is the limit of the setback, and that is why I have always advocated that if you are investing anywhere in Nigeria, it is very important that you are mindful of the government plan. So whoever comes into power, maybe after APC has gone or whoever thing has gone, is that in as much as fact that your investment is within that scope of the plan, nothing will happen to your property. Nothing will happen to your property because every government that comes in are always working in accordance to the plan. Now, there have been instances whereby a lot of people have said they have papers and their properties were taken away from them. I've seen that several instances, and that is why basically that as I have made deliberate efforts, to investigate. Let me quickly say this very quickly. Some of the papers that majority of these people are projecting are falsified papers. Like, for instance, there was a scenario where a diasporan, this particular woman, she's in the US, and I've been working with her since 2020, immediately after COVID. Now, she saw a property in the Thomas Estate. Thomas Estate is one of the most popular estates in Ajah. And she said, in fact, the agent she was talking to was pressurizing her to make payment, but she thought it wise that I should go and do what? Help her check. Now, when we got to this particular property, everything looked okay. In fact, and this is where professionalism and experience is very key. If you are doing properties in the Ajah and the island, basically, everything looked okay. So ideally, I would have said, okay, it's okay. But I just knew basically that there is a proposed 4th mainland bridge. And from our source, we have been told the areas that could be affected. So what I did basically was that one of my surveyors followed me to that site, and he checked a lot of things. By the time we were able to pick out the coordinates of that axis, the 4 corners of where the houses is, we found out the first thing we discovered basically was that because the document that was given to us was a governor's consent, and there was a survey. But when we picked our own coordinates to check what was given, it differs. It was not the same. That was where we knew there was a lot of problems. So by the time we were able to dig deeper, we found out that the owner wanted to sell that property because he is fully aware that his house was sitting on one of the right of way for that proposed 4th mainland bridge. And that is why sometimes I usually advise that whenever there's a distressed property, I have a video when I was talking about this. Whenever there's a distress sale, don't always bow down the pressure of pay. Ensure that the right persons are involved so that they can adequately check. And that's why I have lawyers. If you give me documents, I check. If my surveyor goes to pick, we go to lands. We confirm what you are telling us. So it's not a case of what has been said. So I'm sorry, I'm taking time. So for that, now let me quickly talk about the other questions. I'm sorry, I'm taking some of your time. I apologize. Now, Mr. Yinka talked about a property that somebody bought, and the woman was given another location and the likes. Now, this is why we always do what we call brand due diligence. We just don't jump in. I really, it's a sad story, but situations like that, I've been able, I think I've successfully made people to hate Nigeria. But you see, there are some investments that is still being done that can be done right. So in that kind of situation, what should have been done in the first instance was to dig deeper. And going forward, for anybody that is buying properties, it is very important that you do, because the market is saturated. A lot of people are going into development. People who have ulterior motives, people who have records of criminal records, even in time past, are also going to development. So that is why it is very, very important that you investigate, you do it further. So when it comes to off-plan, it is not all real estate development company you can buy off-plan from. It is very important I say that. Now, a lot of people, whenever I see adverts on YouTube on these and these and these, I understand a lot of people are trying to call their attention, but it is not all, because you see, completing project has a lot of things. Number one, you have to investigate their source of funding. Number two, you need to understand the quality of materials. I think someone also talked about the quality of materials, and that is why, personally, I go to site every month. Every site that I'm that I'm monitoring for people in diaspora. I go there every month, and I don't go there alone. I have an engineer working with me. So if there are things that are not the way they should be, I call the attention of the developer. And sometimes we always sign a document with them that if some things don't go wrong, this is what you will do. And if you don't do that, we take you to court. So we have, to an extent, we have been able to minimize some level of some of these risks, the possibility of some of these risks, so that we can reduce it to the barest minimum. So when it comes to buying off plan, it is not all properties. You have to check their fund, you have to check their, in fact, there are some companies in Lagos that they are even they are dodging tax, they are evading tax. One of our investigation, I was shocked when my lawyer came back and told me this is this, and I was shocked. So basically, it is very, see, for me as a person, I would rather pay 100,000 for a due diligence for a property that I want to buy for over 100 million. A lot of investors don't pay attention to that. I think that's where they make mistakes. So it is very important to do that. Now, for other regions too, like the Abeokuta, the Ibadan, these places are nice locations. They are nice locations, but at the moment, they are still at their primitive stage. So if you are investing, basically, those places should be primarily for agriculture. Primarily for agriculture, because the government of those states are, how would I put this now? They are not like on the same pace with what Lagos State is doing. So, for instance, you can buy into those places, but just don't have, if you are investing in those areas, you're looking at a long time ago, like a 5 years ago, a 6 years ago. If that's your goal, you can look at that. Now, to the last question, another person talked about some estates you have bought and they have not done anything. I know that because of the fact that not all informations are supposed to be shared, and because my time here is very, very limited. Now, when we are choosing a property, you need to understand basically that there are two types of real estate developers in Nigeria. There is a real estate development company that has your interest of development, and there is a real estate development company that they just want to make profit. And a lot of investors have found it extremely difficult to identify someone who is interested in the profit and someone who is interested in development. And that is why I usually say, and the reason why we have this continuous case of I'm buying properties from this person, he has abandoned it, he's not doing anything, it's due to the fact that people are prioritizing price over value. So more importantly, I'm not saying you should not buy a property that is way, way above your plan or your investment, but there are some things you will see from a developer that you will know that is not a serious person. And that's why we have a lot of abandoned estates, even in the so-called Ibeju-Lekki. But there are some companies basically that they have track record. For instance, look at what Xylos is doing. Look at what Amen is doing. So you look at these companies, you see their development. These things are very obvious. You look at what Veritasi is doing. You will even check their track record. You have seen the estates they have done. You have seen the ones that people are already residing. So you don't leave them for another company that is promising you something that may not be realistic. I hope I've been able to answer some of these questions. I apologize if I spend more than the time.
Thank you, sir. Sorry. I know that if I give you time, I know you will talk to you tomorrow. But thank you so much. It's really very helpful for many of us who are here. Thank you so much. We really have. Please give him a clap offering. Please appreciate the name of the Lord. Thank you so much. Number one, please, could you give us your slides? If you can send it to me, I'll send it to everybody. Yeah, if you can do that. And I do understand, especially this right of way, for example, in Lagos Calabar Expressway, which you mentioned. I think 3 years ago, one of the developers wanted to sell me. If I may, I don't want to mention names because I know you are very cautious. You don't like mentioning names. They're trying to force me and my wife say, buy. That was 3 years ago. Buy. It's along the seaside. Very nice, wow. Very beautiful. I mean, it's so decorative. Buy. I said, I was very skeptical. I said, no, I'm not buying. Wow. For a reason, which I did not know. Suddenly, Lagos Calabar came and they just divide their land into two.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have. I don't want to mention name. Maybe I can just say MKH, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Good. So,
I
so
do,
yeah, come and buy. I said no, but they just divided their land. They would have allocated to me, then I would have been in trouble. But thank God I did not buy. So praise the Lord. Thank you so much, everyone. I know I've taken Brother Deji's time. Brother Deji, 20 minutes and 20 minutes question. So please come over. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. Africa man, Africa, right? Yeah, quickly, we are going to come back home. I think he was also talking home. Someone actually said something. He said, there's a adage now when they pray this prayer, Wakure Oko Wasile. Yeah, and we say amen. And he said, don't say amen again, no, because it means that you are going to take it to Nigeria. Where you are in the UK is your home. I'm not taking Eriokolo home. This is my own home. That's on a lighter note. Okay, let's talk about the UK, right? Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. And so now we're talking about securing your legacy, right? That's what I've put the title, even in real estate. I'm waiting for the technical. Okay, all right. And I would be very, very fast because they've shortened my time for over 20 minutes anyway, so don't worry. So I'll try to kind of cut it to the time anyway. It's a long presentation, but yeah, I've titled it Securing Your Legacy today anyway. And next slide, quickly. So that's myself, and some people will be wondering why is Deji doing that? So they know Deji in different facets of ways anyway. Sorry, I like to move around anyways. So yeah, I started my career in IT, and then I moved into empowering people because I thought we need to empower ourselves. I don't like eating things and not sharing, right? I like to share with people, right? And in fact, that's what the Asians are doing. They go into a place and it's good, they go and call another person, and that's it anyway. And in fact, the Bible also encourages us. In the story of the leper, they were eating and they went and, oh, we need to call other people as well. So that's what I've been doing. Then after I encourage people into IT, now I'm also encouraging them to say, yeah, you can get your own properties as well, right? Which I have done anyway. A few years ago, I also brought like 17 people together, right? And we raised £500,000 which we invested in properties in the UK, and we are still doing very well as well. Let's move into the next one. But right now, I work as a mortgage broker for Eminent Financial, and that is my number if you want to put that in there. So, and also, yeah. So, okay, let's go quickly to the next slide anyway. So now we're going to do something quickly. If you can scan this quickly, I just want us to do this. So if you can scan that. For the sake of time, what exactly do you mean by legacy? What is legacy to you? Quickly. What is legacy to you? Let's see what people say about that. Let's scan that quickly. You go to slido.com and you put 567121622. What is legacy to you? And when God said, yeah, a good man shall leave inheritance to his children, what does it mean to you? And what type of property do you want to leave for your inheritance? There are 3 questions. Anyway, let's quickly do that. I just want you to be encouraged. Yeah, so someone said inheritance, and quickly, let's do that anyway. So it is slido.com 5671622, right? And what type of investment do you want to leave for your children? So if you can go there, okay, we can see some people coming in. Yeah, we can see people saying future legacy, right? And having wealth that outlives you, and also houses. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we can see different things like that, generational wealth, right? So that's what we are seeing there as well. So, and thank you. So, and okay. All right. So, and there's other ones as well. Anyway, so, and we can see future legacy, lands, right? Generational wealth, creating a lasting influence. I think we are totally right. Quickly, next one, because of my time, what is the biggest fear? What is the biggest fear or limitation getting you on property ladder or investing in property? Why are you not an property investor? So we are, I think, from the question that, from the answers or what we said a few minutes ago, why are you not investing in property? Why are you not climbing onto property ladder? What are your fears? What are the limitations? So funds. Someone said no fear. Large capital required for investment. Knowledge. Knowledge is power. So that is it. Anyway, so funds. No building of wet infrastructure for my kids. Not building. So that's another thing. Anyway, so we can see. Tell me if you can expand it so that people can see. I think it's a bit small, right? So no fear, no funds. So that's another thing. Anyway, thank you so much. Let's move to the next one. What are the steps? What steps are you taking to protect your family? To protect your family financially if anything happens to you. How do you want to protect your real estate or family legacy? What have you done to protect yourself? We plan nothing bad happens, but what have you done? Right? Have you got a will? Have you got insurance? Or what are you planning to do? Right? So those are the things that, insurance, life insurance. Thank you so much for that. So far, nothing. So saving, investment in stock, that's good. Creating trust. Trust is good. Maybe one day or the other, I will come and talk about trust, actually, right? Trust is good. Even any investment that you have right now. I've had investment in the time past that were not in trust, but right now, from the level of knowledge I have, anything I create now, I put in a trust. So because we're talking about, GISA, CIP, savings. Okay, thank you so much for that. So, and quickly, right? So, and that is it anyway. So let's move back to the slide. Thank you. Thank you so much. So it's kind of us looking into that area. Let's go to the next one. We've done this. So next slide, please. For the sake of time, I would leave this one, right? So let's move to the next one. So why do you own your house? Why do you want to own a home? Right. One, I'll tell you first. For me, right, I don't want to pay rent. I don't want to pay someone else's mortgage, right? Unless you want to want to pay someone else's mortgage, then you should be renting. But one, if you know that, I don't want to pay. So another thing also, someone will tell me, I say, oh, I'm actually paying rent 1,500. But if I get a mortgage, is it going to be more than that? One thing you need to ask yourself, right? If that person that owns the property is paying a mortgage, right, is it going to run to a loss or profit? That means it's also paying less than what you are paying in terms of rent. Do you get it now? So if you look further, if you did not pay a mortgage, right, at the end they say your house will be repossessed, but of course take process. But if you don't pay your rent, you are out quickly. Right. So another thing also is stability, right? And also with you having your property, you build equity, and also you also build generational wealth as well. Let's go quickly, right? And understanding mortgage. One, mortgage is just a loan. So sometimes people look at mortgage and say it's a big thing. We take credit card, we take everything, but we don't take mortgage because they've made us to believe that mortgage. And we also use this word, you mortgaged your life. Mortgage is just a loan on your property. Right. Let's go quickly. Next one. Right. So steps to bidding your property or getting a mortgage. There are different things I'm going to look into. Take this as an educational one anyway. I'm going to give you some steps. One, the first thing, of course, check your credit score, right? It's very, very important. Even if you are not looking for mortgage or you are thinking it's gonna be next 2 years or 5 years, start checking your credit score. It's very, very important that people now, there are different level of entries or transaction that enter into your credit score that was not before. One, your bills now enters into your credit score, right? You're paying gas, you're paying electric, you're paying this, and you're not on top of that. Before you know, you see it in your credit report that you are defaulting. In maybe 10 years ago, it was not like that. Right. So, and also, pay now, buy now, pay later. Right? We know them, right? Amazon, PayPal, right? Klarna, right? They entered into a credit score. So you don't say, oh, I'm paying, you are defaulting on those ones. Also, you need to know that as well. And another thing that you also need to know also is basically that, okay, review your income regularly. Review your income regularly. And even as you do that as well, you need to understand that don't do over your means, okay? And one thing that also people, right? Information is very, very important. Even if you are not getting a mortgage, pretend you want to get a mortgage. And I will tell you my story. Many years ago, 2005, 2006 or 7, right? I finished from school, right? And within 1 month, someone said to me, Deji, go and check if you can get a mortgage. And I had the impression that you have to be British. At that point, I was only 2 years in the UK. 2 years, just finished uni. And I went to the bank. You cannot get it. You cannot get it. Do you get it? Now, some people say you have to be British and everything, but you just need to kind of get. Because sometimes some information are obsolete. So you need to update your information. What I'm going to say, get pre-approved quickly. Even if you're looking 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, go there and say, this is my situation. Can I get a mortgage? What's the worst I can say? They will say no. Right, thank you. Yeah. They will say no, and they'll be able to tell you why you cannot get it. Do you get it now? Or if you can get it. Do you get it now? I would say, if you are renting here, get pre-approved. It's a matter of, this is my situation. Can I get a mortgage? Or if they say you cannot get it, right, they will be able to say, oh, for you to be able to get it, you need to be earning this amount. So you have a target. For me, I'm a target-driven person. You tell me, oh, if I get £30,000 in a year, I can get a mortgage of 150,000. And I say, okay, what's the next thing that needs to happen? What do I need to do? Go get a job. And then, so that is the next thing. So after that, find your dream home, right? This is another thing. It takes a lot of time. Some people think that getting a property would mean that you go to Tesco and get it. No. In fact, some people, when you got your home, let's say you've got your money. I have someone that got money but cannot get property, right? So, and even to decide on where to live, husband and wives, you have to sit down and it was like, I want a house with garden. I want big kitchen. For you to decide, it takes a while. Swimming pool. It takes a while. So you need to start early. Do you get it now? Because I'm telling you, even for you to decide, sometimes it might take 2 months. Even for you to even get the property that you are looking for. It's very, very important. Search for the property. Know where to search for. And also submit. Yeah, after that, then you go to mortgage. The first one, you get a agreement in principle. The next one is what they call decision in principle. Then you get to the an offer. So after that, there will be the processing, underwriting, survey. Then there will be process where you have to get solicitors and the likes, and then you sign the final document. Then you have your key. All right. I'm going to skip this one, right? So, and yeah, I've gone through this process anyway, so quickly. So, and one thing I want to also tell you today, right? If you are looking for property and you are in the process of mortgage, it's not the time to jump ship, right? What do I mean by that? It's not the time to now say, oh, I had an offer, 150,000 when of a job, right? So it's not the time to now say you want to move, right? because most lenders will prefer you to have been in your company at least 3 months for you to get a better rate. For some of them, it will be 1 year. However, I will also say, even if you also start a job today, there will be lenders that will lend to you. It's just that you will not have a lot of lenders that will be able to lend to you, right? So if you are looking in the next 6 months, right, to get a property, maybe you might as well just stay where you are and get your mortgage done and before you move. Or yeah. So quickly, yeah, there's some tips that you need to look into, right? In terms of, I will leave this one for the sake of time anyway. So, and what are lenders looking from your open banking, right? So when we say open banking, some of us right now, we subscribe to open banking and we don't know what we subscribe to. Basically, it means that lenders can peek into your transactions. And not only that, right? The fact that you submitted your statement to the account, to the lender, your statement is like going to a GP. Looking at a statement, I can actually know how you run your life. It's like saying, let's get your blood. That's what a statement is. So don't think it's just a statement. No. It means they will know if you are running on overdraft every time. It's not that it's bad to run on overdraft if you know what you are doing, right? So, or you are over your means, right? And also, basically, what they also look into is like, you have, like what we say in Nigeria, extra change, right? So, and okay, sorry. Yeah. Do you have extra change anyway for you to be able to do that anyway? So, and I've also spoke about buy now, pay later. This is very, very important because these days there are a lot of credit over there. Please ensure you look at that. So now I'm going to look quickly to buy to let mortgage. Buy to let mortgage. Basically, you buy and you let. So why do I just say that anyway? So one step is I've got my property. What is the next? I want to invest. One. So I will tell you, it doesn't cost a lot to do this. You just need to plan. All right. Just I've got my house today. Can you raise your hand up quickly? I have a house. Let's be proud anyway. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you. So now, I tell people this is my own reasoning, right? If your house has got an asset of, let's say, 100,000, 50,000, right, or 20,000, right, and do you know that every time you wake up and you sleep, you are sleeping upon that? So technically, who will say, okay, yeah, today I slept upon 50,000, but actually that's what we do every time, right? And it's good because sometimes if you have a big house, you live large, you sleep, and it's okay. And you have a good sleep, right? You have a nice sleep. And sometimes it also kind of cool your tension as well. Do you get it now? Unless you just need to know that, yeah, basically that's it. So there are different steps. I'm going to leave this one anyway because of time. Now, there are different strategies for investment, right? So you see people coming together, you got low cost, I've got only a few thousands of money and I want to kind of invest. Of course, yeah. So you go to different places. Yeah, up north is one, right? So where you can get a property of 20,000. And one thing I can say before I move on quickly, right? If you don't have if you are looking to get your own property, you don't have a property yet, right? What you need is not a lot as well, right? Of course, it's relative anyway. So, and if you are British in the UK and you are British, right, and you are renting in the UK, you can actually get a 0% deposit. It means that you don't need a deposit for you to get your property. But the only criteria is you must be renting in the last 12 months of the last 18 months. What does that mean? In the last 18 months, you have rented for at least 1 year. Right. And then you are British or you have indefinite leave to remain. If you are not, right, then of course you need to contribute 5% of the amount. You get it now. That's what you need. And for instance, if you are getting a property of 150,000, right? 150,000, how much is 5%? Mathematicians. 75,000. And I'll share my first property. I got it in 2008, and it was 120,000. And I contributed only 5%. How much is that? 6,000. And the 6,000, as a student, I just actually finished 3 months ago. And yeah, 6K. Sorry? Okay, that is wrong. Right? Because I've just done a mortgage in principle for someone for 5%. That's why I said you need to update your information. It is 5%. Right? So what you need is 5%. And so, and also, yeah, you need 5% anyway. So in terms of buy to let, you have different strategies. People look into HMOs, right, which is home of multiple occupants. You have even capital growth. You have rent to rent. You have the fact that so you have different approaches. But I'm not going to dwell more on that because of the time that I have. But one thing that you need to know is like, what is the strategy that fits you? You need to look at your budget. Don't do more than what you can do, right? I've got, like, for instance, now I've got 20,000, right, to spare. Where is that 20,000 coming from? I will tell you one in a minute. So, and you got time. This is very, very important. Some people think, I want to flip. What is flipping? Buying, renovate, and sell. And you don't have the time to do that. And you don't want to be a project manager. But you want to flip because people have already told you that, yeah, if you flip, you sell and everything. But in the UK, you cannot sell a property within 6 months. It's a law. Yeah, it's a law. People don't know that. People come to me and say, DG, I want to flip, right? Because when I buy property, I'll sell it in the next 3 months. Guy, you cannot do that. Because by law, right, you have to, unless you did not actually change that particular property title to your name. Once you change it to your name, before you can change it back, it has to be another 6 months. And with that, people already say, okay, I'm going to do a turnover of 3 or something like that. They've already missed it. So information is very, very key anyway. So, and also, what are you looking for? Are you looking for income or you are looking for growth? Some people are looking for income. Some people are looking for growth. Yeah. So, and special purpose is another thing as well. What is special purpose? I'll tell you quickly. Okay. You have to decide whether to buy as an individual or to buy as a special purpose. One. For myself, I started as individual. Right. I bought property on my name, and some people call us we are nomadic. What does it mean? It's like every 5 years we move from one location to the other. But good thing, when we do move, we don't sell. We hold it, we rent it out. So we have a few property in our name, right? So myself and my wife. And then later we then convert into a limited company, right? Basically selling it. But of course, if you want to start early, right, I would encourage that, okay, you start as a purpose vehicle, special purpose vehicle. So it's a big name, but what it means is just a limited company. But why did they call it? It's not like a standard limited company. So you need to register it like that. That it is for the purpose of keeping your investment. Right. So that is the purpose. Not like you go and say, I want to open a limited company. No, it's a special purpose vehicle. So if you buy with your person, you would need less cash. Right. For instance, if you say, okay, yeah, I want to buy with my own, right? And you can as well live where you are right now and then move to another place. Let out the one that you are living right now. And that is you getting another source of income by yourself. anyway. So you have lower upfront cost, right? And then also so instead of having one property in your name, you have two, and then you can be able to kind of let the other out anyway. So, and the con inside that is because now you have to pay more tax, right? Because as you are earning on that one, you have to pay tax on it. And also, not only that, you pay tax on the interest as well. So basically, but if you use the other approach, which is the okay, I said okay. Who is that for? If you don't have a lot of cash, I would say buy as an individual. Right, start small. Right, start small with that. Just basic buy to let. It might be just a few 100,000 property, maybe in south or up north. Anyway, start with that and everything. So and also for special purpose, it's got its own merit, I would say, because with that, major thing is like it saves you tax, right? So you save less in time of tax anyway. So, and for sake of time, so who is this one for? If you are portfolio landlord, portfolio means you've got at least one or two. You get it now. You start with that. Or if you are starting earlier, so that's another thing. So, okay. I want to leave you with this scenario quickly, right? So if I have a house that is 400,000, and I've also kind of have equity on that property of 200. It means that when I wake up asleep, I'm sleeping upon 200,000. And for me, even as a Christian, it's not a wise decision, right? Because God has given you resources, right? And it's not working for you. So, and also applies to some people where, let me ask a question. How many people want to be debt-free? Debt-free. It's like, and also, I want to be mortgage-free. I want to pay all my mortgage. To be honest, that is one. So, but if you look at the fact that, how can I be mortgage-free? How can I be debt-free? So what we do in some cases is like we pay over what we are meant to pay. And they tell us, if you pay over, you then have shorter time to pay, which is right. But for me, that is not a very good strategy, right? Otherwise, you are only kind of using the money that should work for you and giving it to people that are using the money to work for you. And one thing is like, you need to let people's money work for you, so that when you are not able to work, your money is working for you. I was telling someone, I said, one, what you are able to do now, if in the next 5 or 10 years, you might not be able to do it. Even if you have the power resources, you might not be able to do it. And in fact, you might not want to do it again. So right now, while you are young, when the day is still bright, when the night has not come, let's do what we need to do, right? So now, the strategy is like, okay, I've got 400,000, right? Property, 200 is there. What do I need to do? I kind of mortgage it. I get 100,000 out. 100,000, what will I do with the 100,000? I can then reinvest this 100,000 in a different property. So like if you want to invest with now, get me right now, I'm talking about buy to let, because I'm going to talk about a percentage now. It doesn't apply to you having your house. If it's a buy to let, they won't give you 5%. It starts from 20%. In fact, some will say 25%, right? So you will contribute 20% towards that. Now, let's continue. So now, for buy to let, you contribute 20%, right? 20%, even with that, with 20%, you have that 20%, how many minutes have I got? Okay. All right. So I still got a lot of, I'll quickly go through this anyway. So basically what I'm saying is like, right, with this analogy now, you can be able to pay your mortgage on time because you have another funds that your property is in. Your property appreciates, right? In the next 10 years, right, those two property, you can use them to pay off the mortgage and then you can live on, right? So basically, your money on your property is working for you, right? For you to be able to kind of be debt free. That is basically his analogies. And now I think we've kind of saw the growth in Nigeria anyway, but in the UK, right, this is basically right. So if you bought a property 4,000 in the year I was born, it's going to be 4,000 is now 249,000, right? But of course, let's just come back home. 2015, you bought a property of 186,000. It would also be 246,000. This is a statistic. This is average in the UK, right? And on the left-hand side, I put different regions over 50 years. If you are looking of area that's got growth, right? Of course, what do you expect? London will have more growth, and you got Scotland as the lower one anyway. Okay. Because I'm a mortgage broker, I cannot do justice to this without putting these slides in actually as a caveat. So your house may be repossessed if you do not keep up to repayment of your mortgage. I would not, I think I can be sued for not giving you this information anyway. So but how can your house not be repossessed? Quickly, I'll go through this anyway. Protections, right? You need to protect your house as well, right? So more often, we have protection for our cars, and you have income that is not protected, right? You have house that is insured, but you don't have the mortgage on the house to be insured. So technically, what it means is that you are actually protecting the egg, but you are not protecting the chicken that's laying the egg. So technically, for you to get the property, your income is the one that you need to pay for it. But now, because the bank will force you to kind of get an insurance on the house because of fire, but if you are not able to pay the property, right, and even the insurance, your house can be repossessed. So technically, you need to have that. So this is a situation of someone quickly. Pastor, give me 5 to 7, if that's okay. So this is Dr. Paul, medical doctor, right? So, and things that can make you not to pay for your for your property or for house to be repossessed will be death, God forbid, sickness, God forbid, accident, God forbid. There are these sad situations, right? Sad, sickness, accident, and death. So, but for you to be able to ensure that you stay on, right? So, for instance, this is a case of this particular person, actually, Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul is one of our clients at work anyway. So, I had this story. So, Dr. Paul was a medical doctor, earning money, but eventually he had protections, but at the end, he had stroke. He had stroke, but even if you look at it, they say good news. I don't know whether stroke is a good news, but the good news about that is like Dr. Paul had insurance, right? Because he had insurance, he was able to get critical illness of 150,000. This is like what they call in Nigeria, kishi money, like the money that will kind of enter your account. Even stroke will have hypertension. Do you get it now that when you have stroke, then they now put another 150 in your account? You now, what is it? And do you know that? And after that, his mortgage was paid. Actually, for every time he stayed in the hospital, he get paid as well. So, but one thing, good thing is that Dr. Paul was actually recover fully. The question is quickly, what do you think will have made Dr. Paul to recover? Pastor said, "Got money." His worry was reduced, actually. So, and which is right. And I've asked some people, some people say, NHS is brilliant. But to be honest, if this guy has got worry, he might not recover quickly. Another thing to look into is like, if Dr. Paul was actually thinking, if I survive, Perry, I'm going to be a millionaire. Do you know what's going to happen in his body? Everything will start to function for him. Because you will be like, even it's going to be 1 year, 2 years, I have to spend this money, 150 in my account. I need to go to Paris. And do you get it now? So everything, that in itself, you can see the purpose of that insurance, helping him to stay alive, having something to fight for. Right. So that is what I'm talking about. Even though as we are building a legacy, we need to also protect. Should you be protected? We are building legacy for our children, and we also need to actually protect that legacy as well. We've seen instances when maybe our parents or grandparents, whatever they labored for, they got sick and they sold that as well. So let it be the insurance that will pay in case someone got sick anyway. So, and when people talk about insurance, actually, you talk about life insurance, people death, right? It's more than that, actually, right? Insurance, you can protect your income, right? For me, that's major, is very, very important. You are earning 2,000 and you are not able to work by reason of sickness, you are still earning at least something that will maintain your lifestyle. That one is very, very important. And also, critical illness and as well as accident cover. This is why you are alive. It's not death. Do you get it now? Why you are still alive, you are still able to live a normal life for even anything happens. Anyway, so, and I think that is it anyway. I know I've rushed through it anyway, so, but let me quickly ask any question.
One question so we're gonna combine the question together. I just pray that you're able to answer within 2-3 minutes. One of my main question is, I know you mentioned one of them. For some of us who have got property, this is what we can release. So that means that's our deposit. You mentioned that. What about for people who don't even have any deposit at all? How can they go about getting their first deposit? I know one way or the other, people can take a loan to buy. Because just like you mentioned during your own time, you said £6,000. We're not sure if you take a loan to do it or you just ask. You get what I'm trying to say. So that's just my question. Any question, please?
Thank you, sir. For friends that say, oh, they've got properties and assets and there's no need to get income protection or life insurance, what advice would you have for them?
So my question is: you said for British, they have 0% deposit. I don't know, but for we that were EU, what is our situation? And what happened to me, Dr. Paul, after he recovered and started enjoying the morning, and maybe after 10 years he went back to coma. Before waking up, what will happen to him? Thank you.
All right, quick one. Thank you for that. That was actually quite insightful. And I think you talked about you're allowed to have additional property in the UK as an individual who's British, right? And but you didn't say whether you said 5% is needed. Is that as an individual, or is that if you're using it as a buy to let, and is that what's applicable? Maybe if you can just expatiate a little bit further on that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My own question is going to be completely different from what everybody has been talking about, because I'm going to talk about what happens like that what pertains to me particularly, and that is the fact that I came into the UK with my wife just in 2023, and we're still basically new to the point that right now, if those times I've ever tried to have a credit card, because when you were talking about say that we needed to build our credit score, know what our credit score is. I have been trying for quite some time now to find out what my credit score is. I don't know. Probably because to the glory of God, I don't know. I don't borrow. I don't owe anything. I live within my means. So I don't really have cause to borrow or anything. But each time I try to check my credit score, I'm not able to. But I've been trying to. There was a time I tried to get credit card. They said I wasn't eligible, probably because of my visa type, that is dependent student visa. So the question is, if I want to buy, like, if I'm interested in applying for mortgage or trying to do something like that, concerning my situation, that's my visa type, is it possible? And if it is possible, regarding the new UK policy about extension right now, that is still dicey, will it be possible, or what can you advise from there? Thank you.
All right. I want to say thank you, sir, for this session. It's quite enlightening because for me personally, like you said, people look at the word mortgage like it's something that's big as a mortgage, as in. So you now broke it down and make it like it's just something. My question is, if you're getting a property as a family, maybe as a couple, and okay, like Pastor have actually asked the question that you talk about how to go about the deposit. Now, if you're getting a property as a couple, does it have to be in one purse? Or you can, okay, individual, just bring your money and let's bring the deposit together, or it has to be in a particular purse for a particular period of time or something like that. I just wanted to explain that area. I talked about something about moving. I didn't get that. Actually, I was actually distracted. Is it moving in terms of the job or moving in terms of from one location to another?
Okay, all right, thank you. So I would take the first one and your question because they are relating to deposit, right? So how do you get deposit? Hello. Okay. So I've got an asset, but I don't need an income protection. Or in fact, I don't even need a protection as well. And I think it's general for us, most of us, that say, oh, I've got shares. Do you get it now? Or I've got a property, right? Even property is terrible, right? Because if you got if you have asset in properties and you don't get a protection, you haven't got any protection at all. And say, oh, anything that happens, I've got properties. You can property is not something that you can take to Tesco and go and sell. And when issues like that happen, it has to be spontaneous, right? Like I talked about CIC, critical illness. Once you said you've been diagnosed with that, instantly the next day or 3 days, they pay you that amount. And to be honest, is an amount that actually shocked the sickness. I made sickness to go away. So technically that is it. But if you look at the fact that I've got shares, which you can liquidate quickly, one thing that you don't want, and to be honest, which can also make the person to go to early grave, is the fact that you spend 20 years to bring this together, and then sickness happen, and you have to use it to pay for that. After you pay for it, to be honest, the person might not recover again, isn't it? Because you will look at the fact, what have I got again? That in itself can actually send the person into depression, right? So why not let the insurance take care of that, and you pay, towards that for you to be able to get better in future. So EU. I might not have the full answer for this one, right? I might need to speak to you. So because all my information is about UK residents. But one thing is I don't know how their passport is addressed, right? But one thing I said, if you are British citizen and you have indefinite leave to remain, you are entitled to a 0% deposit, which means that you don't need a deposit. Technically, you can walk through your house, whatever you want. Do you get it now? So, and the only thing is like you need to show that you are renting. It's not like I've got my own property and then you now 0%. I need no. It's not applicable to you that have already got a property and it's only for people that are renting. And also another caveat. Also, you wouldn't say that you are living in a house of £1,000 per month and you are looking for a property of 3,000 per month. So it has to be 150% of what you are paying. Technically, it means that you are paying 1,000, they can allow you to get 1,500 in terms of the repayment that you have to do. So at least, So for the EU, if an EU applicant has got indefinite leave to remain, which I think is possible they would have. Otherwise, you have not got any legal standing to leave. So you might also be entitled to that anyway. So, and additional property, that's another thing anyway. For additional property, I don't know whether I should say it on the camera, but so on. Okay, so the credit score, right? So credit score is very, very important. And in fact, in those days of Xperia, you have to pay £5 or thereabout, right? But in these days, 14.99, and Pastor is even that's why he's a rich man. Who pays for credit scores now? Pastor is still paying 40. Pastor, you can bring that 49. So in this era, there's a lot of free ones. Clear Score, let's mention them actually, right? Money Market, Credit Karma, right? So, and not only that, right? Even some banks now still are not having it within your Halifax, for instance, has got, right? NatWest has got. Lloyds Bank. Which bank do you have? Lloyds Bank. Is there. So speak to him. Speak to him. Speak to him. It's free. It's free. Say. No, okay. No. The fact that he's got an account in the UK, right? He's got a bank account in the UK. You have a credit. And not only that, also, maybe we might also do this session later, so because there are a lot of things into what should increase your credit score, right? Ability for you to get yourself on electoral register. Have you registered? Yeah. Once you've done that, they have your credit. Yeah, and you should be able to see it. Thank you so much. Yeah, even both mobile phones also even on the credit score, right? The fact that you have that. For instance, my Vodafone, I was seeing it was saying 00. I've left this guy. I have to call them to say, remove yourself from my from my account. I don't have anything to do with you. So sorry, pastor is telling me to go away now. 1 minute. So okay, for couples quickly. For couple and okay. There are two ways to do this, right? If you are buoyant enough,
I think he has a question.
Just to add something.
Okay.
For life insurance is very good. He did mention that for protection, because the amount you pay on a monthly basis is so small. The price of going to Tasty to buy a pack of sometimes you can get as low as 15, 21 pounds, and most of the life insurance they offer now have critical illness is included. So don't think because you are paying £20 or £15 monthly that is a lot of money coming out from you, it's going to be very good. The other one, which I want to quickly check with you, is pension. Now, I've had people that just arrived in UK saying they just want to be taking my money. They want to be taking pension from me again. The problem with people is that with pension is that the good thing about pension is that they will put you on auto enrollment when you start, and you can decide how much you want to pay into your pension. Now, it's another form of protection in addition to life insurance. Now, the good thing about it, which I want to check with you as well, is with pension, what you can do is, because your employer is going to also pay into it, because it's like additional money that you are getting free of charge. But people don't want to pay because they believe they're just taking money out. So in terms of pension as a protection, how do you manage that too between life protection and pension to be able to take advantage of that?
Pastor is looking at me. Okay, one, they serve different purpose actually. So, for instance, the pension is to cover you at the end, right? So you cannot take your pension at a particular time. Do you get it now? So that is one. Then number two, of course, your income protection or whatever life protection is basically towards anything bad happen. Do you get it now? So, but pension is for retirement. Do you get it now? So the fact that you are working and you got extra coming in from your employer, I think is a good thing anyway. So, and is a good thing. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Yeah. So it is state pension, but you can also sacrifice more. Yeah, top up on that anyway. But if you ask me, will I do that? That's a different thing because I'm an investor, right? So I would kind of do what is minimal on a pension and then use my property asset as my final pension. Do you get it now? So, but one way or the other, you need to diversify your income. Do you get it now? So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, let's clap.
Just to add one thing, there's a rule, there's a law that when you reach 55, you can take 25% of your pension, and just for those of us approaching 55, and then you can then invest it.
Praise the
Buy
Lord.
a Ferrari.
Okay. Okay, I will. Let's talk. Thank you, Deacon Deji. Thank you so much. I know, just like he mentioned, he's into many things. You know, everybody knows him as IT guy. Am I right? You'll be wondering, why is he talking about mortgage? He's into everything. So I need to thank God. And he's also a teacher as well in Blue Sky. So the guy is everywhere. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Deacon Deji. Really appreciated. Without taking, I want to say without taking too much of our time, we've taken the time anyway. I know you're supposed to do 40 minutes, but you've done 1 hour anyway. So now we can't give somebody that came all the way from Birmingham. We're not giving 10 minutes. I mean, we can't do that. So I promise everybody, 12 o'clock, we're going to share the grace. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we will try. So I will just quickly call on Pastor Ibukun. Now, Pastor Ibukun specializes on, we've been talking about mortgage, we've been talking about you buying properties. He specializes in the area of being a developer. You know, it's not very common in UK. Nigeria, okay, everybody's a developer in Nigeria. But in this UK, you hardly see anybody saying they're developers. He's a developer in this United Kingdom. I've known him and Pastor Lotu for a long time, for well over 20 years. So they're developers. So they buy lands in this country and they develop. That's another dimension. I don't know how they do it, but he was going to tell us. So Pastor Bokun, please clap for him. I don't know how he's going to do it for 35 minutes, but Pastor, you have 10 minutes to 12. So the people who have questions. Yeah, I know I'm taking your time, but I'm so sorry. All the way from Bamia, you're gonna do only 40, 35 minutes.
Hallelujah. Uh, thank you, Pastor. It's a privilege to be here. So even if it's 15 minutes. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Right. So just a quick one. My name is Ibuku Makinde. I started my career as an economist, went into economist and an accountant, went into banking, which is the expected, which is what I was planned, but was contracting, and then just had the plan to, instead of going having people doing pension, I was more focused in the stock market at the early days, and the whole plan is do what I need to do, make as much money as possible. But for whatever reason, ever since I've always believed in, when it comes to long-term investment, it should be, I love brick and mortar, because I believe I can touch my investment. First John says the things that we have had, the things that we have seen, the things that we have touched. I love to touch, so that the scripture can be all fulfilled. So, but along the line, trying to get enough funding to build a portfolio of property, I noticed that there was a bit of a drag, an inherent limitation as to how quickly you can increase your portfolio. And so that made me look into buying a land to build the properties straight away, because when you buy property, just as my brother said here, when you buy property, it's not only when that you cannot sell within 6 months. Yes, you can refinance within 6 months, but very few lenders will let you refinance within 6 months. And even when they let you refinance within 6 months, they don't give you the true value of the property. So if your plan is to buy a property, renovate it, refinance it, and go and do it again, you will see that you can't complete that cycle for one project. It will take you 1 year, 1.5 years. And for me, that wasn't working. So hence why I looked at the opportunity. It's all about creating value. I don't want my initial capital I'm starting with to be stuck in any property. That was the whole idea. If I am starting with 100,000, if the whole 100,000 or half of it or some of it is stuck in the first property I do, that means until I save the amount that is stuck, I can't do another one. Does that make sense? So the whole idea is, let's say you have 100,000, and I think it's best for me to go through my presentation with this personal experience. A lot of people will be able to relate with it than if I'm. So we'll get to the slide if we get to it. If we don't, we'll just do question and answer. So the whole idea is, you have 100,000 to start with. You go to auction with some few funds from bridging loan, which is possible. You can buy property at auction with if you have, I'll say, make sure you have at least 50% of the property you want to buy. You go to auction with 100,000, you pick it up, so that they will claim they give you 70%, but it's not really that 70%. There's a lot of calculations involved, and plus the cost, the amount involved for you to renovate the property, you see that you need at least 50%. At least that's the starting point. Now, the point is, you have 100,000, you bought this property. Let's assume the property is 150,000. The property is worth 250,000 in the market. You spent 50,000 to renovate the property. You were hoping that when it's all said and done, you can remortgage the property and pull out your fund. But the problem is that the valuer, because it's still within 6 months, they will be looking at how much you bought the property, which is a public information. They will take the before and after picture and just think of what they think you would have spent on the property, and that's what they will give you as the value of the property. Hence why you then see that your whole 100,000, somehow, some way, you can't take it out, because all I want to be able to do is remortgage the property, get my 100,000 out, that property is making, I'm now making passive income from that property, I go and do it again. And that was my strategy some 15 years ago, that this is how I'm going to build 20 properties. And there are people who say, no, you want to be mortgage free. Yeah, you can be mortgage free with 5 properties in 20 years time. How do you do that? You build a portfolio of 20 properties over, let's say, 20-25 years period. At the end of that, sell so many, pay off the mortgages of the rest, and you have like 5 properties, 4 properties that are mortgage free. That's part of what my brother here was explainable. I guess it will take more time to break it down like that. So I would say that aspect of things, you have somebody in the house who is very knowledgeable. Who, please see him when he was talking about if you have equity, remove this equity, split it, do this, do that. Because if you look at it, the inflation rate is, in fact, the government targets 2% inflation yearly, which is not even 2%. But you can be sure if the inflation rate goes below 2%, the government will do everything possible to push it back to 2%. That means a property, whatever we are buying for £2,000 last year, will not be £2,000 this year. It has to be £2,000 plus 2%. That's not limited to just your food, your petrol. It includes even the physical assets, which means a property that is worth 200,000 last year should be at least worth 202,000 this year. Does that make sense? But that's not the case. You and I know that after every 10 years, statistics shows that property at least have an appreciation of 50 to 100% increase in value, which then means over 20 years, a property you bought for 100,000 should be roughing about 150,000. If you put geometric return into it, which means you are having return on return, etc. Now you then see a case whereby if you have 10 properties, you sell 6 of them, you'll be able to pay whatever mortgage you have on the others. As my brother said, the loan that you have is for the property. If the value of your property is now 200,000, the value of your loan will not go to 200, will not rise pari passu. So that's that. That was the intention. That was my plan. That's where we started from. We had a plan, but what I realized is that the rate at which we could buy and increase the portfolio, there was some inherent limitation in the system. But I saw that this inherent limitation doesn't spill to the area where you buy land. You build, and you refinance it. Because when you buy land, you build, you refinance it. In fact, you are allowed to put a premium on a new build. So that is how I decided this is where I want to go to, plus other things. But time is our friend. So I started looking, and the first plan was to buy a plot of land, get development finance, and you will get development finance. You'll get loan to build. They will say even if you don't have the land yet, they can give you money towards buying the land. It's more complicated than that. What I will say to people straight away is that try and buy the land. Once you buy the land, there will always be development finance to build if your figures add up. Now, if your figures doesn't add up and the development finance won't lend you to build, in the first place, what you are about to build, the land you have, is not worth what you have on it. Your figures should add up that development finance should fall over each other to want to finance it. The only reason why development finance might not want to finance your development is if you're a novice. You are just starting up, which was my own case. But if it's just one house, depending on your track record in property, so things like extension, conversion, auction, all those things are not lost. How long you've been a landlord, what do you know about the property market, have you done a very extensive renovation on your own personal house, all those things will count for you. And if you're doing your first property and first development, and let's say it's a single property, it's a single house, they might consider you. In fact, when we started, there was a lender that was still happy to lend to me, even though that was my first time. Now, even though that was my first site, and even though it was 5 houses. Now, how did I start with 5 houses being the first site? The reason is because single plot, the value, the price, the asking price for single plot doesn't always add up. And the reason is because when you see a single plot, you are competing with the likes of people who want to have a personal build. Now, you as a developer, you just want to build, you want to buy the land, build and sell and make your profit. You're going to be competing with people. So your benefit for doing that activity is the profit. Am I making sense? You're not planning to live in the house. But you're going to be in the market competing to buy that land with somebody who they want to build a house and to their own taste, put things where they want. You know, we all buy a house. Many of us, 95% of people buying houses now, you will buy if not more than that, you will buy a house that is already been built. There will be one or two things that is not where you want it to be. So you have people who they just want to buy and do it. And whilst you are buying and you want, when it's all said and done, if the house is being sold in the market for 300,000, you want to be able to say you built it plus the land, everything is 250,000. For somebody who is self-built, they don't mind the house is worth 300,000. They've spent 300,000 plus the land, because the benefit to them is that everything is how they want it. So you're going to be competing for land, to buy land with those kind of people. You will see that whilst you are saying that with all my calculation, my profit margin, everything, I cannot buy this land for more than 50,000. They are ready to buy it for 80,000. So that's why you see that you struggle when you go for self-built. When you go for single plot. That was my experience. I looked for single plot. I was finding, but the figures doesn't add up. Because you have to make sure that you know your cost of build. And that's where a lot of us get it wrong. And when we were selling the house that we built, one of the buyers of the house said to me, "You must have made a lot of money." I checked. You're selling this for 450,000. It only costs 160, 180,000 to build a house like this. And I smiled. And he's right, but wrong. He's right because the same house, depending on how far away the utility I need to connect to, depending on how far the drainage is from the house, the location of the house, the property, the cost might be another 60, 80,000. Does that make sense? Because the drainage, and I have to connect to drainage. Again, what about the access? There is the one that we're just selling off now in Rugby. The land itself is 150,000, but we have to buy access for another 75,000. So, and if without access, all what you have is a farmland. So you see that somebody just sitting back and saying, "Oh, it's going to cost 160,000." You have to make sure that your cost adds up. And when I did the costing, with the few knowledge I have and by the way, I have to say that I had the privilege also of coming from accounting. Yes, as an economist, I can understand graphs. So reading architectural drawing was a transferable skill, which I didn't realize until it just made sense to me. It's one or two people that now said, "Why did it make sense to you?" Because you're not an architect and you're not from building. I said, "I don't know." It took me a while before I realized, no, it's because at least with the grace of being able to read graph, because as an economist, you have to be able to read graph. You have to be able to present your argument with graphs. So when I'm reading drawing, it has to make sense to me, whether it's architecture, whether it's economics or architecture. However, despite all of that, I have the privilege of having a childhood friend who is an architect, who is a developer, who is in it. So in fact, when I went back to him and said, "Look, all the single plots I'm seeing, the figures are not adding up." And by the way, I was able to get also input as to how to do my visibility analysis for the land. I was able to get so many information from him as well, what to look for and things like that. And he said to me, "Go for it. Whatever you have left." So I said, we have to go for multiple plots. So when we saw multiple plots, we saw these 5 houses, a land with 5 houses. We said, okay, this makes sense. This adds up. The problem now is I'm a novice. I'm just starting. I can't handle five houses. It's too big. So he said to me, okay, you know what? We'll partner together. Take as many as you can, and we take the rest from you, and we'll partner together and stuff like that. And so that's how I got into that. And then, so we did our first development was 5 houses, and you have to go through planning. Now, what I would say is that when it comes to property development, it is doable. As you can see, I'm not an accountant. Sorry, I'm not an architect. I'm not a civil engineer. But as I speak, this is what I do full time. So, but it's not for the faint-hearted. That's the only thing I'll say. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it's not a quick. I want to get in, get out. Everyone is doing it, but it is lucrative, and it is possible. And you can make money as a developer without a penny of yours, because there are different aspects of it, of the game, that you can get into if you've got the time, if you are good in research, and you can spend time to educate yourself. So what you care, you can. I mean, there are architects that have never been on site. For example, our first development, by the time we got to site, we had almost 200,000, over 200,000 value added to the land. It was a case of, do I sell or do we go ahead to build? And I can tell you that when we finished building, monetary wise, we made less profit than if we had sold the land after we got planning on it. But I'll use the word monetary wise because not all value that is created is monetary. Because if all what we did was get the planning, sold the land, made 200,000 profit, I won't have pictures of what we've done to show you today. People won't look and say, it's got track record. Because the only track record I will have will be in my bank account. Does that make sense? But I know there are other opportunities, there are other doors. Having something to point to as actually, okay, oh, sorry, I don't even need. I'll just jump. How do I? Okay. So this is the land. There are different, it was a yard. It was like a mechanical, no, sorry, it wasn't a mechanic, it was like an industrial yard. This is the land. Now, this is we call the Abigail called. This is when we started clearing the land. This is when we've cleared the land. So there were 5 houses. So those are 3 houses to the left. When you come into the left, we have a gated. It's a gated compound. 3 houses to the left, and you could see through the gate. You can see 2 other houses. Those 2 there are 2 big houses, and the one you can see at the top here are the 3 houses. So making 5 houses. Now, the land had what you call outline planning. Outline planning. You have different types of, there are different types of planning status a land could have. This one had outline planning. You have what you call pre-app, you have outline planning, you have full planning. Now, pre-app is when you go to the council and you have a piece of land, you go to the council and you say, what can I do with this land as the owner of the land? And you pay like, it used to be 300, 400. You even do it on almost many planning as well. But nowadays, the council now, they're wising up. I'm working with a client now for a land that has planning, outline planning for 9 houses. We want to try and make it 14 houses. And I thought 300, 400, we'll do the design, we'll throw it to them and see whether we can get 14 houses instead of 9 houses. Again, there's a reason why you go for the 14 houses, not 9 houses. But I won't be going into too much detail because we just don't. 3-4 hours we're still here. I just want to open you up if it's something that you want to jump at. So, and when I try to look at how much we're going to pay, because each planning application is £550, £588. So I said, no, let's not go for full plan. Let's just do the pre-app. Thinking it's going to be 300, 400. We realized that now they've changed the way they price the pre-app. If it's minor development, is 1,000 for that council. If it's anything more than 10 houses, it's £2,000. And I'm like, what's going on? But the council too, they are waking up. Now let's just look at it. Pre-app, what's pre-app? You go, it's like when you have agreement in principle with the bank. They say, look, based on it, we are happy for you to build four or let's say 4 to 6 houses on this land. We have not looked at the details, but we're happy. We think we think there is no reason why we should say no. Now they tend to give you a decision notice, what you call decision notice, a letter to say we agree in principle. Now they agree in principle doesn't give you a legal right. You cannot sue them if they change their mind tomorrow. Okay, so that's why it's called pre-app, and it's only the equivalence in mortgage is what you call agreement in principle. On top of nudge that up a little, you have what you call the outline planning. Now, outline planning is when a piece of land, and this is something that started working to the advantage of landowners. Landowners are asset-rich, cash-strapped. They have assets, they have the land, but they don't have the cash. So in the time past, architects will approach landowners, get them to get into an agreement to sell their land to them if they go and do all the monkey work of planning. Now, they will come and say, you know what, this land will buy it from you for 200,000, subject to us getting planning on it. The landowner will look at it. This land, I'm spending almost 10,000 annually to cut it. Maybe they get grant from the government or whatever it is, but he knows that as it is, the value is nothing. If this man had given me 100,000, I would jump at it. Now he's talking 200,000. If only I wait for him to get planning. And in the time past, because the landowners can't afford the cost of architecture, application, etc., they allow the architects to do that. Or for them to realize that, hang on, the architect will then do the land, get the planning. You know, he's bound by the agreement they've had together. The value of the land, even before the architect buys it from them, is like 500,000. So the landowners were losing out. So I don't know whether that's why, but I can just see that being one of the reasons, if not the main reason why the government came up with something between pre-app and full planning application called outline planning, whereby this is a piece of land. You can literally take an A4 paper, show the piece of land, sketch where you think the houses will be, submit it to the planning of council under outline planning. Now, what's the difference between outline planning and pre-app? Pre-app doesn't have, you don't have it's not legally binding on the council. Outline planning is legally binding on the council as long as you can demonstrate that there are 5 things they call reserve matters: the landscape, the access, the size of the houses, the appearance, and the layout. As long as you can demonstrate that those 5 things are in compliance with the planning policy in that council, the council is obliged to allow you to build 5 houses on that land. They are obligated. That's the difference between pre-app and outline planning. So what landowners started doing, instead of selling their land as a virgin land, they started sketching, getting approval. Now, all of a sudden, because I have a legal agreement from the council to build 5 houses, you cannot price my land for cheap. So those are the things that started changing. So you then get a case where, like this land now, the vendor had approval for 5 houses, outline planning approval for 5 houses. So we approach them, agree with them, and to buy it, but we will go and do the full planning application and sort out all the paperwork. Hence why by the time we sorted out the full planning, the property, the land is now was then almost 650,000 from 400,000 thereabout. So, apologies. So that is the outline planning. Full planning is when you just go in there, you are sure of everything. You tell the planning officer, we want 5 houses here. This is the design, this is everything. give us full planning once we've considered our application, and once the application comes out, we discharge the planning conditions, because planning approvals will always come with conditions. We discharge the planning condition, you can go and build. But if you have outline planning, you then have to go and discuss the things that you've not discussed, which are those 5 things that I discussed. Now, where I said there are architects who they've never been on a site, a development site. All what they do is with the Google, with all the search engines, everything, what you have there, they look at lands, they know the when the gentleman was speaking about the planning plan and the town planning plan when he was talking about the master plan, every council, in this town have the master plan. So for somebody who, whatever you're doing, let's assume you are in between things. For example, there was a time in my life when for 4 years I didn't have my papers were stuck in the home office. I look back, I could have made a kill if only I've sat down to just being a land sourcer, where you just source land for developers. You don't have a penny. You don't need to spend money buying any. Obviously, you spend few money buying some little things, but we're talking about less than £1,000. You have the knowledge of how to position, how many houses can fit on each land, how to cost it, etc., etc. Once you find the land with a little, you find a land now, you go to pastor or 1 or 2 other people around and you say, look, I found this land, this thing can work, let's partner together. So they bring the little money you need to get something like outline planning or pre-app on that land. You reach an agreement with the landowner, etc., etc. You package it even before you put the 300, 400, 500, 600,000 down. In fact, you don't have to put it down, because what you're doing is that once you get a bit of planning on it, you then look for an investor, for developers to sell it to. So there are architects who, they don't do anything. They get a piece of land, have an agreement with the landowner, get some form of planning approval on it, and they sell it off. And they do it again. But when we built this house, this set of houses, there is another development across us, another 5 sets of houses. And the guy that built those 5 houses, he said he doesn't like the whole planning thing. It's too much headache. And it's true, because nobody should think it's quick money. We are working on a planning now in Redditch. We have been on it since 2022. So it's not, that's why I said it's not a journey for the faint-hearted. We are doing all the legwork, everything, but it is rewarding, and it is things you can get into if you are ready to, if you are tenacious, you are ready to face all the obstacle and get it over with. So those are the kind of thing the architect. So let me finish that story, and that's where we'll wrap it up because of time. That opposite development, the architect, he is a developer. He never gets into planning matters. He just buys a land that has full planning and develops it. Whereas the architect he bought the land from, that's all he does all day long. He never goes on site to build. He gets a land, he gets planning on it, sell it to any developer around. And once the figures add up, you will always get it to sell. You'll always get developer to buy from you. And there are so many parts of it because of time, because I would have loved, I said here, sourcing who is a developer. A developer is not an architect. Being an architect, being a civil engineer is only a small aspect of what it means to be a developer. Your job as a developer, you are sourcing viable land, designing adequate houses on the land, obtaining appropriate planning approval, obtaining funding, engage principal designer, most likely going to be an architect, engage a principal contractor who is going to build for you, engage the upward sale estate agent, etc. That's your job as a developer. You will look at that. It's not really construction. If you say your job as a developer is construction management manager, you're wrong. Your job, your main title is a project manager. So if you're an excellent project manager, but what you need to do is to understand what the life cycle of this project is, and you can project manage it. Of course, inside that life cycle of the project, as many as the technical requirement that you can do yourself, the better for you. You know what I mean? If you have to pay somebody for every technical requirement, then you're losing your profit margin. Like my friend, who is, I said, my mentor in this, he does almost everything himself because that's been his career all along. I'm doing, in the beginning, I don't even touch the architecture part of it, although I look at it and I still push. I think we can, because of my experience in conversion and extension, I'm saying we can squeeze this here, we can squeeze this here. Recently, we've been working recently now. I design houses, the number of houses on a land myself to see, okay, how many houses can this land contain, and what kind of house, what shape, orientation. I don't use AutoCAD because I don't know how to use AutoCAD, and for how many houses I try and design in a month, in a year, I don't think it's worth my time. But somehow, some way, I've mastered using Excel. So I have Excel, you know, the way we have graphs. So I've cut Excel, I take the cell, and I know that each box of Excel, very small, is like 0.5 meters. So, and I know that in the olden days when there was no AutoCAD, even architects were using hand on graph paper. So I use Excel like my graph paper, and that's why I used to do my design. Right. I can't, if I push too much, there is too much to say. I think we can only open our eyes to what is possible. One thing I would say is, let money be the last thing you think about when you want to go into development, even though it's capital intensive. Let money be the last thing you think about. Money will always follow good idea. I believe very much development is one area where favored intelligent minds can make something very good, because it's not a mass market, and it will never be a mass market. So if you get a hang of what is going on in there, you can just you can make something. It won't be for long. You have to be diligent. You have to be ready to do the research work, and you make something. Coming into this as somebody from outside, this is one book that I read in the beginning that I would recommend. As a matter of fact, I checked it just when I got here, and I'm happy that I did this because I've rushed things a lot. So, but I think if I leave you with this book, I'll be very comfortable that I've done justice. It's only if you don't read it. In fact, if I listened to the audio version, which I still have on my phone. I finished listening to the audio version. I went to buy so I bought few books. I listened to the audio version, but of all the other audio books that I listened to, I went to buy the hard copy of this. At the time, it was £50. It didn't bother me to buy the £50 because all the things, those aspects of things, I wanted to go and underline them and study, because I took this upon myself like I'm going back to school. And that's what I did. And I was visiting my friend's site once a week. I drive 35 minutes from my house. Once a week, visit his site, roll my sleeves, and I'm learning. And I did. I read the book, and when it was time for me to hit the road, we hit the road with the help of God. We stumbled, we did, but we did a good job. And today, I can turn to the bank and say, we have 9 houses. Can you fund it? And they will fund it. All right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you. I don't know where to start, but we have to round up. We have 1 more minute. Please, it would not be a good justice for him to come all the way from Birmingham and we don't ask him question. So can I ask for only 5 minutes? I promise. 5 minutes, then we'll round up. Would that be okay? No. We're in a hurry because I promised that we're going to finish 12 on the dot, but please give only 5 minutes. And please, your question should be seconds. Sorry.
Just so that we stay with Pastor, what I can say is that we can put questions together, and maybe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time, we can do a Zoom section.
That'd be a good one. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Does anybody have any question? Very quickly. Remember, I can see that there won't be too much question on this. You know the reason why? This is not straightforward. This is not a property development. This is not like the one where Dickin Deji did. Very easy. Go there, buy one. No. The way he was even talking, I was thinking, which land can I buy in London? I couldn't even know where there's a land in London because he's based in Birmingham. So there's so much land over there. But in London, I don't think there's one. But there will be one. I know you know there's one anyway. So there will be. Okay, just one question from me. And please, it's going to be seconds question because 5 minutes after, please, we need to round up. Okay, just one from me, sir. One from me. I know you've been mentioning about, I saw even the sample you mentioned. I was thinking, if that one is in Nigeria, instead of 5, we would have done 10 on it. Because it looks like they're detached. In Nigeria, they don't like detached. They push everything together. So, okay, one question from me. Do you have any kind of development that you build and they're high-rise? I know it's not. It's also in UK as well. Anyway, okay, that's just one question from me. Does anybody have a question? Please, seconds.
Thank you, sir. I mean, I have passion for developing property, but for development generally. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised that an individual you can actually buy land in this country and build, because I thought it was meant for big
All the big,
developers.
yeah.
Now, my concern is this planning approval, because I work for an organization that's into property and all that, and I know that there's some property even to change the structure or to build amenities around the area. We've been with the council for almost 3-4 years. They want to do community consultation. They want to do this, do that, which is frustrating. And apart from that, if you're putting money into something, how do you find that patient to be able to wait for that long, even for the approval alone, not to talk of even getting to the end of the project itself, seeing what your money has actually given you?
Okay. Second question. Does anybody have any more question? Okay, give it to Dickin Deji. 1 second, please.
Yeah, thank you for the session. I think it's really, really inspiring. And like I said before, I run an organization where we have properties that we bought actually. This is one area that we are actually looking into kind of venturing in. So it would be good to know how you do it if people want to come here to partner with you, because it's one area that we're taking up. Let's buy the land. And so we have not actually kind of started, but it would be good to kind of see how to partner.
Okay, thank you, sir. Making 3 questions. Anybody else? Okay, Doc.
What my brother just said, when you said that the planning can take a lot of time, why is it taking so much time, and what can you do about it? I mean, make it easy.
Okay, 4 question. Okay, Sister KG.
Hi, sir. How do you become a land sourcer? Is there a mentoring course that you offer? Thank you.
Okay, making 5 questions. Anybody else? Well, Pastor Yinka, I can see that you have a question. You asked him after. Do you know him or you don't know? In GCI, yeah? Good. Yeah. These are Akpata people in Ibadan. Oh, you went to GCI as well? Okay, you know the place. Okay, good. Okay, making 5 questions. Pastor, you have 3 minutes to answer. But yeah, just like you mentioned, if it's going to be more, we can, yeah. Okay.
So what I would say is iRise. Yes, some people do iRise. Pastor Lotu is doing iRise at the moment in Birmingham. I am not doing iRise because it's more technically engaging. Even for him, the bank is pushing for him to bring in more technical expert. And this is somebody who has been an architect for 25, 30 years, both in Nigeria and here, and more here actually, 18 years, no, 24 years here as an architect. They are still asking him to bring expert. So I don't even think it's an area I will go into, but you never say never. So that's why I would say that planning challenge, the reason we're planning, why planning challenge is like that is, yes, planning can be challenging, which I did mention. As I said, there is one we've been working on. The first time we saw the land was 2022 May. We started the planning application January 2023, and we're still on it. Positive, we are almost there, but there are still few things to iron out. So that is why it could drag. In terms of partnership, yeah, it's something that we can look at. What could work? Yes, we are open to. When I say partnership, we have different types of partner. When we started like this, we had to bring in people to be the cash investors, and we partner with people who brought in the cash. Again, it could be, why is I'm partnering with people who brought in the cash? I'm having to partner with my friend to get development finance at a good rate. Does that make sense? So you can see that there is a lot of vertical partnership opportunity. So yeah, it could be that you find the land here in London. I'm working with a gentleman in Newcastle now. He's finding the land. He's found the land. I'm looking at it, and I'm telling him this will work. There's another guy I'm working with. I think it's Boranwood or so. We're looking at it and say, will this work? Will this not work? But I know that when we get to it, we'll have to partner together. They will have to start a company, add me to it. We manage it together so that there can be opportunity for them. It's like borrowing CV. You can borrow CV in development. Does that make sense? But there is a lot to it. The last one, land sourcing. At the moment, I just look at Rightmove. I have my search set up on Rightmove that just let me know what comes up within 40-mile radius of my house. But there are so many other ways of sourcing land. But because I'm not so much invested in that land sourcing part, I can't remember all of them, but if you mention it, I'll say it. But one thing I'll say straight away, there is an aspect in this book that is dedicated to you sourcing land. For example, somebody was asking, do you get land in London? There is still land in London, because the development that this development is a development of 3 houses in Rugby, but that land is the garden of a house. So what we did is that we bought the house, and that gave us right. We bought the house and the garden, and we split the title. The house, we are renting it out. The land, we are building 3 houses. Pastor asks, why is it that we build 3 houses there? Again, that's part of planning bottleneck, where the land can take, this particular land could have taken 4 terraces and 7 terraces, but they restricted us to just 3 houses. Between the council and the people that gave us access, they restricted the number of houses we can build to 3 houses. Hence why we then had to make it big to maximize the land. Yeah. So, but to go into detail of that, I will say straight away for anyone, if just buy the audio of that book, easily during driving, you can just listen. That's what I did. And then after I listened, and I bought the book itself to dive more into the chapters that I want to really. I heard it, but I think I wanted to know more.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Before we round up, I think I just want to tell, not really a story, but something that I'm not sure if Dick Deji remember. Dick Deji, remember some years ago, we wanted to buy a property up the road. Remember? There's one property up the road in this Crayford that's got very massive. I think you saw it. It's a massive one. It's a property, but it's got a big garden. Remember? I was just thinking about this. There's still land in London. Remember that Chinese guy doesn't want to sell it's a property, but the land is more bigger than the property itself. So the guy wanted to sell the property, but doesn't want to sell the land. Do you remember? Yeah, I went through the place, I think some few months ago. The guy has actually now built that on that land. So he sold that property, that land, he didn't sell it, but he built on it. But the land is massive. It's close to maybe 400 square meter. It's a garden, no? Yeah, but it's a end of terrace. Yeah, so you now build on it. So I said, this guy. That's why when you say there's land in London, so this kind of properties are there. Thank you so much. Sorry that we take 10 minutes of your time. We really appreciate it. Please clap for everyone that's, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you. I've learned a lot. Thank you for staying. Pastor's gone. Has she gone? She's outside. Please tell her to come and just quickly round up, then we share the grace. Please, I know we have not eaten. I don't know about you. Because of time, I just couldn't eat. So there's food at the back. Please, before you go, take something. I know many of you pack 3 hours, some maybe in Retail Park or Sainsbury's. I think they should still be some time. Please go and pick up your card. Don't let them give you a ticket. Please call Pastor. She's gone. Oh, okay. She's gone. Okay. Thank you so much. So, Dick, you want to say something? Or? Oh, okay. Thank you. Please, let's rise up. And also, for everyone that came today, I will send you pastor's number for property development.